This is the weekly Drupal UX meeting for Tuesday, October 23rd, 2018. We're starting a little later than usual, and let's see if we have something we want to talk about. Any updates on the design for highly destructive confirm forms that we were talking about the previous two meetings?
Yeah, I'm going to share the screen.
Thank you. And while you're doing that, I'll read what you pasted into chat. The issue number is 2773205.
Okay, so here we have this issue where we need to come up with a design for highly destructive operations. Like, let's see, when you are uninstalling something and try to have a little bit more, another step or something like that, that makes sure that people is aware of what they are doing. So going forward on the issue, there was this proposal where, no, I think it was 14, yeah, where they were suggesting to add this warning at the detail of what you're going to do and what it's going to be affected, and a button with text inside. And after several discussions on several meetings, we come up with several agreements. I'm going to go through the proposal for that side by side, where we can see each of the things we were saying. So we discussed that we were going to have the title here. I'm going to post the issue later on Drupal.org, but at least if we want to make any change, we can do it right now. So we discussed that we were going to have this title, the message displaying a warning. I'm not sure if warning was literally writing warning. I'm not sure we have this pattern anywhere else. Information of what else is going to be deleted. So we have here text saying you're going to delete this. And here is a list of stuff that you're going to delete, or at least that is going to be affected somehow for the action you're doing. A checkbox with a prompt. I'm not really sure if it meant something like that. And confirm and cancel buttons. So, well, it probably should be. So the confirm button should be disabled until the checkbox is selected. That's what it was written on last week, but after discussing that with Andrew on Slack, and later on he posted that on the issue itself, it will be better to not make the button or try to have this button as disabled, because it usually have problems with accessibility. So ideally, we shouldn't just let people move forward, because this one will be actually mandatory. So from the the screenshot from 14, what we said is that we were going to move the text that it was inside the button to the checkbox, and other required elements were going to be that to keep the title short, provide the information about what other stuff is going to be affected or deleted. It's saying several things that can happen. You can delete the stuff, or something can be actually affected somehow. For example, if you're deleting a language, it's going to not delete something, but use a neutral language. So it doesn't mean that you're going to be deleting something. It means that something is going to be affected. And the estimation, I'm not really sure how it, I haven't seen any example of that, so I'm not sure what we should actually say here. And here we have some examples. So far we have the warning, the text that is actually right now here, and the module in this situation that you're deleting a module. So we have the title of the module here. Here we have detail, well, a field group, or I don't know how is it the best way to call it, but with its own title, and then the description of stuff that is going to be deleted, and the checkbox. And here we have an example with, for example, if you're deleting Spanish, for example. So, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have a bunch. I mean, I started looking around at what I was dealing with web forms and titles, and my take on the title, it needs to be as short as possible because that's the most mobile accessible thing. But I feel like it should be action. It should be the action and then the entity. So in the example of uninstalling the field group module, the title in the top gray header should be uninstall field group. That is the shortest possible title with the most description. And they don't need to, it doesn't even need to say the confirm because we're forcing that to happen anyway.
What if you have 20 modules?
You know what? Then that title probably needs to say confirm uninstall multiple module, like modules. Oh, that's true. See, this example, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, even for example,
I was thinking like deleting a node, like the example would be like, or you're deleting a vocabulary, and that's highly destructive. It should say delete the name of the vocabulary. You're right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look here. I mean, we have really long.
I don't know that you need the name of, like, the way you have it right now where you list the field group is fine, but I think the confirm uninstall is less intuitive. I would say uninstall modules, and you could have the S in parentheses.
Mm-hmm.
And then you provide a list of one or more things that are being uninstalled or one or more things that are being deleted. So that way you'd be saying like confirm, or you'd say delete field type, and then it would list the types of fields you're deleting. So it gives you the gray bar, which is very deliberate in terms of the action you're taking. But you also have the capacity to have one or more things listed like we currently have.
Uninstall module or uninstall modules?
Modules, yeah, in parentheses, yeah. Yes. I see where you're going with it, yeah. And then do we repeat that title? And the following modules will be uninstalled during it, yeah.
Though you could probably make the sentence shorter in the example. So rather than saying the following modules will be completely uninstalled from your site, you could keep the sentence relatively short and say these modules will be uninstalled, and all data from these modules will be lost, because the key part in that sentence isn't the first half. You've already got uninstall modules as your title. What we're really trying to emphasize is the all data from these modules will be lost. And maybe that should be part of the warning. So rather than saying, because when it says warning, you're uninstalling field group, that isn't the warning. The warning is you're uninstalling field group and all data from these modules will be lost.
And then the following one, the default text that we have everywhere is, this can't be undone, in bold. Now, we don't have to, there's something about that text that does help.
Something like that, or I just want, or
Yeah.
deleting these, because if we have, I don't know, 20 modules.
Right. I would say you're uninstalling modules and all data will be lost, or you could also, yeah, you're uninstalling modules and all data will be lost. And
Or associated data, all module related data. I mean, this is a weird phrasing, but
the issue here is that the warning then becomes specific on the type of action you're taking. So we have to have a different warning for the module language than you would for field. You are uninstalling fields and all field related data will be lost.
Okay.
yeah, that helps a lot.
It means that we can get rid from.
Yes.
That. It makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with this configuration, listing out the configuration, Webster's not here, but she hates that because it's not helpful for non-technical people.
Well, it's not even helpful for site builders who are just installing modules.
Yeah, what I would like, it would be so nice if there was a way to, like, if someone wants to add more information, like, I'll give an example. Okay, let's say you're deleting a content type, and that's going to delete 10 fields, and then you're going to lose 10 100 nodes with that. Should we list that information out? Like, what's the, like, because I mean, what you could have is generic text here. The following modules will be completely uninstalled. Do you list out like any related? Yeah, this one. Yeah, it doesn't seem helpful, and there's no really needed extra information.
I mean, see, the thing that I would think of from a site builder perspective is there are 3 different things that occur when you press that uninstall button. One of them is the kind of macro concept of field group itself being uninstalled from the site. And that's going to potentially get rid of tables. It's going to get rid of anything that's referencing that module, et cetera, et cetera. The second thing that happens is what's already there. There are configuration consequences. And then the third thing is a list of what content types would have been impacted or what things are impacted. So when you uninstall this module and it adds, this is not a good example, or maybe it is a field group, but I was looking at a module for range, which adds a field type of range to creating content types. So you uninstall that module, it means every single content type, having a list of the content types that were impacted is more important to me than the configuration options. But I don't know if that's possible.
See, the problem is that's not possible because we have multiple modules being deleted on this screen.
Yeah.
We have to customize the text. But what you got to was 3 bullets that are really important when you're deleting modules to explain to a site builder. You're deleting configuration, content, and finally the code. Not the code. Like that's, when you, it's almost saying what happens when you uninstall a module.
Oh, I see. So you're making this a generic message that tells people when you uninstall a module, these 3 things, 1 or more of them will be happening.
Yeah, that's a nice generic way. And what's nice is if we get that type of language, we're doing this on a module level. But then when we get to taxonomy vocabularies, we could say, it starts setting the queue up. Okay, the vocabulary will be deleted and all taxonomy terms will be deleted and all relationships to those terms will be deleted. Like 3 simple bullets that just kind of give people a hint of the level of instruction. So is it configuration, content, and is there anything else? It's when you uninstall a module, you're deleting the configuration of the module.
I guess in Drupal 7 there would be variables, but now that's part of configuration.
It does help to kind of say if there's fields. I mean, what it'd be nice if we could scan the config being installed and figure it out, but we could just have it, we'll store one of the below things will happen. I mean,
and this was the idea I'd had last week, though, is can we simply allow the module maintainer to return something? So whoever is implementing this pattern can determine what it is they want to return. So if in their situation, they're able to tell us what fields are being impacted, that becomes something that they do as a part of the module, rather than saying that this comes out of that base class that you're building for the delete. So the delete form simply accepts a return and can display it if it fits certain display criteria. Would that make sense?
Yeah, I think we have to do it that way. And that actually brings up my question, which is we have these two parts of the message. The first part, the following modules will be completely uninstalled, and the list of, in this case, one item. And then in the separate div with the border, configuration updates. And why do we have those two separate? It seems to me that both of those pieces have to be supplied by the person implementing our design. So, I think we should be providing one big box that contains all the information that the implementer thinks will be helpful to explain the consequences. I don't see how we can break it into two parts.
I have no idea either.
Or would it be better to make, allow a multi-part message and put each one in a details element or a field set, so that there's one field set saying the following modules will be completely uninstalled, and then a second field set for the configuration updates.
But why would you place the list of things that you're updating on a field set? I mean, if there's only one, it doesn't have any sense to have a field set here. I mean, you already have the concepts or the communication separate. When you're adding this group here, this is automatically perceived or seen as something that doesn't belong here. It actually has another level. I mean, it's like the details about all these things. I mean, those are two levels of things that you're communicating. I mean, you already have it prepared. I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself.
I'm understanding where you're going with, like, you're listing what's being deleted. These are the entity, the objects being deleted, these modules. And then the configuration updates is trying to say what the ramifications are, give a hint of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think of a simple another bulleted list that says when uninstalling modules, configuration and configuration, can be deleted and content can be deleted, and leave it at that. Having modules list out what they're doing is really hard, a large ask. I mean, for core, it's not, but for other modules in the community, it's.
So maybe if you're uninstalling web form, content type depends on that module, for example, and then all the content related to that is going to be deleted also. So it's not going to be just configuration updates, but also
It's configuration and content, yeah.
Content deletion.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if we should actually just change the title here and say, so we have, for example, for body, we have like different groups of things inside. So maybe we just could change that to, I'm not really sure in English, which will be the best label here, but something like things affected, or I don't know, something that, or consequences of your action. And then we could have here whatever groups we have right now, and also content that is going to be affected, and then list the content there.
Because we're talking right now, we're talking about a pattern for highly destructive, which seems to be fairly synonymous with mass or bulk changes.
Mm-hmm.
I still wonder if we even want to list these things in a view, or if we want to simply dump them to Watchdog and have some sort of reference on how to find it in Watchdog, be that in DB logging or be that in syslog. But that would avoid some of the overhead in worrying about what this looks like, and would allow you a more generic bit of content that you put into this area. I do know that in a lot of discussion around Drupal, we seem to separate configuration changes, deletions, additions from content. So it seems like we do have three things. We have the objects that are directly being changed, sort of as first order. And then we have configuration that may or may not be changing. That's optional. And then you have content, which may or may not be changing. Because one of the confusing things is with content, if you have a field that's unused anywhere, we would be telling them that there's content being deleted that does not exist.
Well, that's true. You can say fields will be deleted and all related content to the field. I mean, this is just an interesting, okay, so we have Drupal 8 and we have annotations in our modules that tell us exactly what the module is installing. Meaning, like, I'm scanning web form and I can tell you if I wrote code to, and this is getting technical, but I wrote code to scan that module, I can tell that I'm using config entity types, content entity types, fields, and blocks. You see what I'm saying? Like, we do have that ability to parse into that information. I'm not saying we show all of it. I want to be really clear. I really am against, like, you're deleting the web form, entity. That's crazy. Or this block. But to be able to say you're deleting these things, you'll impact, content, config entities. Maybe we agree to list it. We can't list every block. Like that would be.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't necessarily want to list that you've deleted 10,000 the information from fields, and I guess that's one of the things that continues to.
But you could give a link to the content page, pre-selecting whatever content types this module creates, the web form content type. So you could give a link so that someone can follow it and say, "Oh, I'm deleting all of this." If a module defines fields, you can figure that out, and you can say these fields will be deleted, and give a link to the content types that use those fields, because we already have that information in the field report.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to put all of the information on this page, but we can encourage anyone implementing this page to put as much information as they can stand.
I mean, phase one is generic information that we come up with to say, configuration, content, fields, get blocks provided by these modules will be deleted. Like to give that hint. And then the goal would be to write an API code to like really figure it out. Which is really powerful. If we can.
I mostly agree with all you're saying. It's just that the more information we place here, the better. I mean, Of course, if we are talking about deleting 1,000 nodes, we don't have to list them here. It doesn't make any sense. But we should really try to place, for example, this configuration update right here. I mean, if we don't make people leave this page.
But when from a pattern perspective, shouldn't we be encouraging that when you have a mass delete, that is at least going into logs somewhere as a result of the pattern? Because right now it feels like, again, from a site builder perspective, so I don't even know if these things are possible from a code perspective or if it's already there. But if I were to delete something that then forced the deletion of all of this content, and let's say it just deleted the field. So I had a field that had the age range for every member of the Drupal organization. So everyone who's on D.O, and I listed their ages in a range, and everyone picked their age, and I deleted that field. It would be nice to have some historical record of that as part of the mass delete. Because I would, and I don't know if it falls under usability or not. But to me, that's a consequence that there's information that I wouldn't put visible on this page, but I want to make certain that I was putting it into some log somewhere, because otherwise it's like simply uninstalling a table and just watching the information vanish, and you don't know what just vanished.
Yeah, modules just don't have that capacity when they're uninstalled to tell you what's happening.
Got it.
Kind of, it's tricky. I mean, we're dealing with what we're looking right now is uninstalling a module. That's a major task, and that's hard to do. I do agree, like, if you're uninstalling, like my case, if someone deletes a web form, should list out the submissions that are being deleted. You're not every submission to say you're about to delete 500 submissions related to this web form. And that language is helpful. And it does bulk delete and write a record into the log, you're deleting this.
Yes.
And so, I mean, that if we get people in that pattern, that's fine. The pattern would be, propagate up what, and I'm leaning toward like a simple bulleted list of, okay, let's say you're deleting a content type. 1,000 nodes will be deleted. All the fields associated with this content type will be deleted. And then it's up to, once they have that on the page, they can log it when someone hits confirm.
Got it. Okay.
For this, I'm just like, we just list out the basic things that we're talking about, and then suggest that in core, we start figuring out if we can write an API to kind of figure out what the plugin dependencies are of a module when it's uninstalled. Not configuration, like understanding it, And
I think the key thing about the pattern is making more complex things semi-optional, so that people don't have to provide really complex lists of things, but you leave it open enough that if someone wants to, for their use case, like taxonomy terms, there are multiple ways that can be solved. So over time, contrib space or core, wherever is appropriate, can determine that they want to address it more comprehensively. Those things, I think, the basics that we have here are everything you need. The bigger question is, can we make that last part flexible enough that people can be more robust if they want to over time?
Well, it's easy to make it flexible. Just supply a box and say that person implementing the pattern has to fill the box.
Yeah,
it's providing more structure than that's the challenge.
Well, if we're looking at this page, okay, we provide another sentence with bullets to say, these things will be the modules. When modules are uninstalled, these things may be deleted. Configuration, content, and plug, and blocks, and and then the configuration updates. See, I think for developer is useful if it's a details element, like hidden. You know what I mean? Look at all the configuration being deleted. So you're kind of, and by the way, that gives this option if someone wants to list the 1,000 entities that are being deleted, they can, but, And I hate that the listed configuration will be updated because it means it'll be deleted here. And by the way, Christina, that's not your fault. This is the language from core. It's like,
yeah, it says updated. It isn't actually indicating which things will continue to exist and which things are actually removed. because some of the configuration files will simply be modified and other configuration files will cease to exist.
Because the field group is in those files.
Yeah, some things are modified, some things are completely removed.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. That's not even accurate. Wait. We're getting technical here, but I want to be clear. I think this is inaccurate because the field group, well, the body field, it's not telling you the body field. Okay, well, the example on the body field is the body field to be deleting. In core, is it telling you when the field group's being deleted? Like the field group elements, it's not. It's only telling you
configuration
that's related to it. Wow.
Yeah.
We have to figure out.
Yeah, I think that's more a thing that it's going to require that we actually go example by example and we take a look to what needs to be done. I mean, I think we need to find a way to explain that what's going to be here and provide some examples and actually explain what makes sense here.
Yeah.
And what happens if we are forgetting things, like if you are actually deleting things, why it's not here. I don't know.
I mean, the goal of the box is what's being deleted. Let's just back up big picture, and maybe that's, what it should be changed to. Just what's being, I don't know, uninstalling modules will remove, and then it just lists it out. And then other people can come in and put in whatever they need for their other destructive operations.
No.
Does it need to be in a call-out box, or should it just be another sentence and list? Yeah. Okay, that does say what's being deleted.
I don't know, more examples. Oh yeah, here we're not saying anything about the content itself.
Yeah.
It's actually giving options.
This was more of a replacement. And that was one of the elements we're missing, was whether or not someone wanted to allow or return options for what to default to.
Yeah.
So in the current examples, we don't
So
have
stop
that.
right there. Go back to that warning one, because that's really what the one that says warning, one tab over to the right. The menu link. Yeah, that one. So that's an example of what is being deleted.
Exactly. Yeah, it's missing a link to there probably. And as you were saying, the more easy we put that to the site builder or content author or whatever, we can to discover what he or she is doing. I mean, the better. If we could actually link this to the link itself,
Yeah.
it would be great. But again, it's a matter of reviewing each example. So I'm not really sure how much is it. It is something we have to take care here in this issue. I mean, we can explain that ideally we should give more links or more options or more paths to follow, but I don't know if we have to decide each of them here.
I'm sorry, but I have to get off the call. And since I'm the one running it, I think that means
Okay.
we all have to. So we'll update the issue. Any last closing remarks?
I'm gonna update this screen from here.
Okay.
So we can actually have something to talk or discuss about. Something graphic. So, anything else?
Thank you. I really do feel bad about cutting off the discussion because I think this really has been valuable. It's the sort of discussion we can't just do in Slack easily or on the issue queue. But
okay.
We'll keep exploring. I mean, we'll come back next week and see what we can get.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.